This is the book of Samuel, part 17. Now we'll be reading chapter 17 from verse 1. Now the Philistines gathered together. They gathered together their armies to battle and were gathered together at Shokok, which belonged to Judah, and pitched between Shokok and Azekah in Ephs Damim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array, against the Philistines. Now, if you look at verse 1, it became clear that the Philistines have gotten a place even in the land of Israel. Are you there? And from that place, they arranged their army against the people of Israel. So when your enemy wants to attack you, most of the time they may not attack from their base. They can find a base in your territory. And the moment the enemy begins to find a base in your territory, it's a sign that they can fight you from your territory. They can fight you using your people. For instance, if the devil wants to fight the head of the house, he can find a base in that family by recruiting one of the sons or one of the daughters. So through that son, through that daughter, he can launch an attack on the parents. Are you getting what I'm saying? This is what the Philistines did here. They found a place in the land of Israel. They arranged their army there. Why? They wanted to fight against the people of Israel. So we have to be careful so that we will not give the enemies an opportunity to find a base in our territory, because once that happens, it becomes easy to fight us. It becomes easy to defeat us, because they will not only fight with their people, they will also fight with our people. So they will be fighting using our people against us. Are you getting what I'm saying? Verse 3, and the Philistines stood on a mountain on the other side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. So both of them were standing on the mountain. So between them, there is a valley. I hope you can picture that image now. Two highlands, then there's a lowland between them. So for the two of them to meet, they will have to go down. Both of them will have to go down. Are you getting what I'm saying? Okay. What lessons can we learn from there? Now, for you to, anytime you try to compare yourself with others, you are going down. That's it. Are you there? Anytime you try to compete with others, you are going down. It's like you are on the mountain, so you are trying to go to the valley. You don't have to try to compete with people. You don't have to compare yourself with people. Compare yourself with what God is saying. That one is the healthy competition. There's a healthy competition, and there's a competition that is not healthy. Healthy competition is when you compare yourself with what God is saying about you, and you are doing all you can to look like what God is saying. That is healthy competition. But when you look away from what God is saying, and you are focused on what people are saying, and you want to look like what you are seeing around them, ignoring what God is saying to you, that kind of competition or comparison is not a healthy one. So both of them are standing on the mountain, the Israelites on the mountain, the Philistines on the mountain, and there's a valley between them. So for them to meet, they have to go down. Take note of that. Anytime you try to compete with others, looking away from what God is saying about you, you are going down. You are going down. All right, verse 4. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose weight was 6 cubits and a span. So among the Philistines, there was this man that was so unique, so different. There was this man that they could easily spot out, and his name was Goliath. Not only that, he was described as their champion, meaning he was the captain of that army. Are you there? So as long as there is Goliath among the people, the Philistines will always have a high level of confidence. So Goliath for them is their confidence. Once it's in their midst, they know that they cannot they know they cannot lose the battle. The Philistines actually understood the strength of Saul. They know that Saul is a skillful, they know that Saul is a skillful fighter. Of course they know. But because of the presence of Goliath, the skill of Saul could no longer fear them because they know that Goliath is a man worthy of fighting and winning. Verse 5. And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with the coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekel of brass. Can you see? He was a huge man, he was a very strong man, yet on his body you see a lot of metal materials. So those metal materials added to his weight, increased his weight. So Goliath is that man that when you want to fight with him, you can't, you can't imagine yourself carrying him up. It's not possible. Are you there? Because even the weight of the things he's putting on, you may not even be able to lift, not to talk of his own weight. Are you getting what I'm saying? So he's not a man that when you want to fight, you can imagine, oh, I'll just carry him up. No, that one is impossible. Because the weight of Goliath as at that time is almost equal to the weight of a two-story building. That's the truth. So you can't imagine you carrying him. Number two, you cannot also imagine you pushing him. Pushing Goliath, trying to push Goliath down is like you are trying to uh, destroy a building using your hands. It's like you want to bring down a building and you are pushing it with your hands. You, of course, you know how impossible that can be. Verse 6. And he had graves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. Can you see? These are still those things that were part of him. Every part of Goliath was harmed. Every part. So this made him extraordinarily heavy. Are you there? Extraordinarily heavy. And obviously, if you were there, if you enter into that story by revelation, you will know that Goliath, with that kind of regalia, is not a warrior that can run fast. No, he has to walk step by step, one step, the other step. So he has to walk, step by step because those things on him are too heavy. So he is not, he cannot run. Running for him is not a possibility because of the weight of the things that he has on him. And that's why it will be impossible to push him down, and it will be impossible for you to carry him up and say, "Hey, I've won." No, you can't carry him up. Are you get what I'm saying? So people like Goliath now, the advantage of that kind of dressing is that it will be so heavy, so weighty that he can hold he can hold chariots, can hold 5 chariots and throw them away. That's one of the things that Goliath can do. Are you there? If you if you enter into that place by revelation, are you there? If the Lord shows you uh, the picture of Goliath's strength, some of the battles that Goliath has fought and he has won, you know, this place is actually revealing one of the battles. Are you there? But meanwhile, Goliath has fought several battles and he has won. And that was one of the things that gave the people confidence in Goliath because he has never lost any battle before. So if you enter into this story by revelation and the Lord showed you by light some of the battles that Goliath has fought and won that even the Bible did not capture, you will see that in some of those battles, Goliath, all he did was to, he can hold like 5 chariots. You know what I mean by chariot? A chariot will involve horses with a seat where 2 or 3 people can stay. Are you there? That's a chariot. So in some of the battles that Goliath, now I'm speaking to you by revelation now. Are you get what I'm saying? Now, in some of the battles that Goliath has fought, Goliath can hold like 5 chariots, and he will just swing them like this, roll them, and throw them away. That's the strength of Goliath. And he will not fall in the process because he is heavy. He's like a building. The weight, his weight plus the weight of the things on him made him equal to almost 2-story of building, two-story building. Are you getting what I'm saying? So it was easy for him to pull anything down. It was easy for him to tear down trees. Are you getting it? You see, Goliath was that man that was almost equal to Samson. That's the truth. Are you there? Samson could pull down pillars. Goliath could also pull down pillars. Samson could tear the mouth of lions. Goliath could also tear the mouth of lions. Are you getting what I'm saying? The only difference between them is that the strength of Samuel, the strength of Samson was from the Lord. So Samson did not need to put on any metal plate before he wins any battle. That's only the difference. But Goliath, Goliath will put so many artificial things, so many things too. That's just the difference. So both Samson and Goliath can pull down pillars. Both Samson and Goliath can tear the mouth of lions. Are you getting what I'm saying? All right. Verse 7. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing of a shield went before him. Can you see that? The Bible is still taking time to describe this man so that you know how heavy he was. Verse 8. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servant of Saul? Can you see that? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. Let him come down to me. Meaning Goliath is saying, well, you are servants of Saul. All right. I'm representing the Philistines. So the Goliath was so bold to to talk about his clan. I'm from the Philistines. You are the people of God. That's none of my business. I'm an idol worshiper. You are the worshiper of the living God. I'm proud to be an idol worshiper. That's what Goliath is trying to say. You worship the living God. I worship idols, and I'm proud about it. So you that you are worshiping the living God, pick one person among you. Let the person meet me in the valley. Let's go down and meet in the valley. Let's see what happens. If the person wins, then we know. Are you getting what I'm saying? Sometimes your enemy can boast, and God will be watching them. He won't see anything. Are you there? He'll be watching them. He'll be watching them. Now, if you carefully study the statement of Goliath, you will discover that he said, let him come down to me. That means for you to fight Goliath, you have to go down. Are you saying that? You have to go down. Please take note of that. Because you are on the mountain. So, as a child of God, how do we fight Goliath? If you try to fight Goliath directly, you will go down. That's just it. That's why Goliath said, let him come down to me. Because that's the only way you can meet Goliath. You have to go down. So that means fighting Goliath alone is already when you choose to fight Goliath alone, you already know you cannot win. That's just it. Because going down to him means that you will be defeated by him. That's the spiritual implication of that statement. Because you cannot fight Goliath alone without going down. So if you want to fight Goliath, what do? Trust the Lord to fight him. So if you allow the Lord to fight Goliath for you, you will stay on the mountaintop. You will not have to go down. Many people go down to Goliath because they have not allowed the Lord to fight for them. So this is the importance of allowing God to fight for us. When we allow God to fight for us, we will not go down. And yet victory will be sure, because God cannot fight a battle and lose. That will never happen. All right, verse 9. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, that's Goliath boasting now, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then ye be our servants and serve us. So the agreement is, okay, just pick somebody to come and fight me. If the person wins, then all my men will become your servants. And if I win the person, all these your men will become the servants of the Philistines. That was the agreement. Verse 10. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. The word defy there can mean I challenge you to produce somebody that can fight with me. If you can, I challenge you. Pick one person and let the person come to fight with me. I challenge you. Can you see that? I pray for somebody listening to me. Whatever thing is challenging your faith, challenging your stand, challenging your belief in the Lord, today, the Lord will give you victory over those things. In the name of Jesus. Verse 11. When Saul and all the Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Can you see that? When they heard the words of Goliath, everybody got scared, including their king, King Saul. Verse 12. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. Verse 13. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab the first, then the second born was Abinadab, and the third born was Shammah. And David was the youngest. Of course, he was the last born. And the 3 eldest followed Saul. So David was the last person that could have been enlisted on the army, because he was very young. He was the last born. So ordinarily, you know what happens to last born. Most of them are usually very childish. So out of the sons of Jesse, it was the first 3 that was picked. Those ones are matured. They are muscular. They have muscles. Physically, when you look at them, you can say, hey, these people have strength. Verse 15. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. So meanwhile, while this thing was going on, they made selection from David's family. And in the family of David, it was only 3 people that they found worthy of the battle. So, and those 3 people were the 3 eldest, son there. Firstborn, secondborn, and the thirdborn. So, obviously, when you go for a kind of competition, and then maybe out of 10 people they want to, maybe out of 8 people they want to pick 3, and they have picked first position. You are still hoping that, okay, of course, I can be second. They picked second position. I said, well, I'm trusting God. At least I'll be the third. Lord help me, Lord help me. And they picked third position. What's the next thing to do? You go home, because of course it is clear that maybe this is not the right time. Maybe you have to try again next time. So after David saw that, well, they have picked only 3 people from my family. So what am I waiting for? He went back home. Are you there? He went back home, even when he was thinking, maybe I should fight. But since he was not selected, so he went back home. Are you there? And he was not going back home to go and play. No. Though David was the last born, but he was matured because the Spirit of the Lord was in him. He went back home to feed his father's sheep. Verse 16. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening and presented himself 40 days. So for 40 days, Goliath kept on challenging the people of Israel, and for 40 days, that is a month and 10 days. When you go by 30 days, making a month, you have a month and 10 days. So for 1 month and 10 days, Goliath kept on challenging the people of Israel, and for 40 days there was nobody who could stand against Goliath. Verse 17. And Jesse said unto David, his son, take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren. Verse 18. And carry these 10 cheese unto the captain of their thousands, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Can you see that? Jesse was a wise man. He was a generous man. He did not only ask David to go and give food to his sons. He said, now take this cheese, give it to the captain. Are you there? So the first thing was, take this, give it to my sons, give it to your brother. Then take this cheese, give it to the captain. I get what I'm saying. This is something we must learn here. Some of us, we are so concerned about what belongs to us. Are you there? As a parent, you are going to, maybe your son, your girl, your boy is in a boarding school, or you want to go and visit your son or your daughter in the institution. And you know that this your son has roommate. There are 4 or maybe 3 or 2 in the room. You bought only one thing. You want to buy bread, you bought one. And you know there are 3 in the room. And that one has announced to his roommate that, oh, daddy is coming, mommy is coming. You were going there, you bought one bread. And you got there, you gave it to your daughter, you gave it to your son. Let's learn from the scripture. Jesse did not only ask David to take food to his sons. He said, take this cheese for the captain. We must learn to also, be a blessing to other people. Are you with me? If you are going to visit your friend, your sons, your children, ask them, how many people are there? You don't need to buy something very expensive. A little thing we do, and they will appreciate it. How many of you are in the room? Oh, mommy, we are just 3. You are 3. Okay. So by wisdom, you know that if you want to buy bread, you have to buy 3. It doesn't mean all your food you are giving them. No. Take what you want to take for your child. Are you there? But there must be something that you will buy for others there. It can just be bread. It can be any other little thing. Don't just come and pack everything, give it to your child and go away. No, that's not wisdom. That is selfishness. All right. Verse 19. Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. Can you see that? So Saul was there, but there was nothing he could do. So the only thing the Israelites could do is they were fighting at the valley. So that means eventually the Israelites, they went down. So when they went down, some Philistines also went down. So they were fighting there. Are you there? Now the the Israelites were willing and ready to fight, provided Goliath was not was not fighting. So those periods that Saul was fighting with his men against the Philistines in the valley, Goliath was not there. Goliath did not join the fight. Are you getting what I'm saying? So when they see that okay, it's only the Philistines that came down, Goliath is still up. So we quickly lead his men. Let's go and fight. Are you there? So the presence of Goliath in the camp of the Philistines was the 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 main problem of the Israelites. It's not like the Israelites cannot fight, but Goliath is just one figure that they can't figure out. Are you there? Goliath for them is a figure they cannot figure out. Goliath for them is like a complex mathematics. Is so complex that they can't just solve it and get the answer. So anytime Goliath is not coming down to the valley, maybe about 100 Philistines came down and they see that Goliath is still on the mountaintop, the Israelites will quickly go down and fight with those people. But once Goliath comes down, nobody will come down to fight with you. All right. Verse 20. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper and took and went as Jesse has commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to fight and shouted for the battle. Can you see that? So David did not leave the sheep without a care. The Bible says when he was leaving the sheep, he left them with a keeper. That's wisdom. Are you there? As a minister of God, you don't just travel anywhere because they are inviting you for programs. Do you have a keeper that you can leave your sheep for? That's the wisdom. So your keeper can be those people assisting you, the assistant pastors, those disciples you have raised, who by the grace of God can now teach, can now preach, can now train others. Those can be your keepers. So I'm asking you as a minister of God, if you are not in fellowship today, if you are not, if you are not in your fellowship now, do you have keepers that can minister and the people will be blessed? When we say keepers are those people that can produce the same effect you will have produced if you are there. Those are keepers. Until you have people that can produce the same effect that you can produce when you are not there, you don't have keepers. And that's why every shepherd must be a discipler. So in the process of discipleship, you train keepers, those who can stand in gap. Are you there? The disciples of Jesus were raised to be keepers. So when Jesus left, they were doing the same thing Jesus could have done if physically present. For instance, Jesus was going to the temple at the hour of prayer. He saw a man, who could not walk at the gate called Beautiful. By the power of the Lord, he raised the man, and the man can now walk well. That's the exact thing Jesus would have done. If Jesus too was going to the temple at the hour of prayer and you see that man, that's the same thing Jesus would have done. So Jesus raised his disciples to be keepers. Until you raise keepers, your ministry does not have a future. Because you can't be the only one doing everything. You can't be anytime you are not you cannot go to fellowship now, fellowship will not hold. No, you have to trust God to raise what? Keepers. Keepers. Are you getting it? So there's the ministry of the keepers. There's the ministry of the shepherd. The keepers are those people who are giving a meaningful and a tangible support to the shepherd. The keepers are those people who will not make the absence of the shepherd to be felt. Those are the keepers. Okay. Verse 21. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. Okay, verse 22. That's verse 21. Verse 22 now. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage and ran into the army and came and saluted his brethren. So when David saw, the armies, the way people were fighting. Now, you see, you can be small in age and yet be big inside. Ordinarily, for people like David, seeing people fighting alone should scare him. But you won't imagine what David did. David saw people fighting. The battle is hot. He said, yeah. He quickly dropped what he came with. He ran into the midst of the battle. Can you see that? He should have run away from the midst. But as young as he was, that means there is something in him that is bigger than his age. Because ordinarily, a small boy should not run. You see people using sword, some people falling, some people dying, some people's head being cut off. Those things alone cannot even scare you. The Bible says he ran into the battle. Now let's see what happens. When he ran there, he saw his elder brothers. So he saluted them, meaning he greeted them. Verse 23. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion. The name of the man is Goliath, but the Bible called him champion. Who is a champion? Well, a champion is that figure that you are afraid to fight. Anyone you are afraid to compete with is a champion. Whether you believe it or not, that's the truth. If you have somebody in your class that you are afraid to compete with as a student, maybe somebody in your office as a worker that you are just scared. Anytime you see the person, your heart is beating fast because something is telling you this one is not on my level. This one is higher than I do. That person to you has become a champion. So while David was in the midst of the battle, displaying his boldness and braveness, the champion came again. That's Mr. Goliath. He came again, as usual. The Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spoke according to the same words. And David heard them. What did David hear? He heard the words of this champion. He heard it. Meanwhile, before David came, people have been hearing, but they pretended as though they did not hear. I didn't get what I'm saying. But this champion came again while David was around and repeated the same thing. If you have anybody that can fight with me, let them come. Are you there? Meaning that Goliath was not fighting. It was just somewhere. Are you there? So anytime, just like I said the other time, anytime Goliath did not come down to the valley to fight, are you there? The Israelites will quickly go down and fight with the Philistines there. But once he comes down, the Israelites will go up for the fear of death. Are you getting what I'm saying? Now, this is how the battle is. Now, the Philistines are on the mountain top, the Israelites are on the mountain top, and there's a valley between them. So, at certain time, Goliath, being the captain of the host of the Philistines, Goliath will send a number of soldiers, maybe 50 of them, so they will go down. Are you there? Now, out of those 50, he will just choose a captain, someone that will lead them. So those people will go down. Are you there? Just like it happened in the book of Kings, when a particular king sent 50 soldiers with a captain to bring I think Elijah down from the mountain. Are you getting what I'm saying? The same thing is happening here. So at certain time, Goliath will send like 50 to go down. So when that happens, meanwhile Goliath is not going down. He will just send, since the Israelites are afraid of him and they have to fight. It's okay. You 50 soldiers, okay, go down. So when that happens, the Israelites will also send another 50 from their camp. So those 50 and 50 will meet in the valley. They'll be fighting. Are you getting what I'm saying? But after some time, Goliath will come down. So the moment Goliath is coming down, once the Israelites see that Goliath is coming down, they will run up. So anytime Goliath comes down to the valley, you will not find any Israelites there. Are you there? That's what is happening. So it happens to be that now, as usual, the battle, the Philistines have released some of their armies and the Israelites too, so they are fighting at the valley. So now, as usual, Goliath now came down. So David now saw the fear in the camp, how that once Goliath is coming down, the Israelites are quickly running to the mountain. Are you there? So 24, and all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him. Can you see that? And they were so afraid. So when they saw him, as usual, just like I said, they will now run back to the mountain. So there will be no Israelite in the valley. Are you with me? Verse 25. And the men of Israel said, have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defile Israel he is come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. Now because the Israelites actually needed a solution, so they now placed a price tag on him. Anybody that wins Goliath will marry the daughter of the king. The person will be given great riches, and the house of the person's father will be made free. What that means is that the person's father will not pay tax. Are you there? Every other charges that normal citizens should pay, the father's, the person's father will not pay it, including electricity bill. Everything will be free for the person's father. That's a huge, compensation. All right, let's continue. Verse 26. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? So David was like, who is this man that is challenging the armies of the Lord? Who is he? Can you see that? Verse 27. And the people answered. They answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him. Verse 28. And Eliab, the eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David. And he said, why comest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thy heart. Thou art come down that thou mayest see the battle. Can you see that? So Eliab was angry because now this anger was coming out of love, because Eliab does not want anything bad to happen to his brother. So he said, why did you come down? I know you are very naughty. I know you. This your pride will soon kill you. This is your pride. I know you have come to see the battle. Now you have seen it now. Get away from here. You get what I'm saying? So everything Eliab was saying was not coming from hatred. No, it was not coming from bitterness. So David was, somebody that was loved by everybody, including the father. So Eliab was saying what he was saying because he wanted to secure him. Because somebody that FT men cannot fight, is it our last born, my younger brother, that will now fight? So that's what Eliab was thinking. Verse 29. And David said, what have I now done? Is there not a cause? That was the response of David to his brother. He said, what did I do? Is there not a reason for me coming here? Verse 30. And he turned from him towards another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. Verse 31. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. So when they heard what David was saying, okay, the people went to Saul and said, well, sir, I don't know, but it's like we found one small boy. The boy was willing to, the boy is willing to fight the champion because the name ringing in the mind of the Israelites now is champion, champion. So I know they must have mentioned that name to Saul. Say, King Saul, sir, we found them somebody in among the Israelites who is willing to fight the champion. So Saul said, are you sure somebody is bold enough to fight the champion? All right, call the person for me. Call the person for me. So they brought David before the king. The one thing you must quickly learn from here is this: David was bold. If you are coward, you will never stand before the king. You will never stand before kings when you are coward. Are you there? The presence of kings, are you there, can be gotten by the brave. Only the brave can stand before kings. The Bible says, see thou a man diligent in his business, for he will stand before kings and not mere men. If you are coward, you can stand before mere men. But if you are bold, you stand before the king. If you are brave, you stand before the king. And there also some of the qualities you need to stand before king is boldness, braveness. Are you there? All right. Don't forget the Bible says those that do know their God shall be strong and do exploit. So David knew his God. And because of that, he was strong. He believed he's stronger than the strongest. That is the champion now. The champion. I can't imagine that kind of picture Goliath had. Everybody was just calling him champion. Champion. The champion. The champion. All right. So the king sent for David. Verse 32. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Can you see that? The word this there is not an honorable word. So anytime David is trying to refer to Goliath, instead of saying, I will go and fight with the champion, he will say, I will go and fight with this Philistine. So the word this there is downgrading that great image that Goliath has. David was not calling Goliath champion. He was calling him this Philistine, meaning this small thing. He was not looking at Goliath from the same lenses that the people are looking at him. He was looking at him as a defeated person. He was looking at him, though physically it looks big and impossible to defeat, but if you look at Goliath from the eyes of David, you'll see him as an ant. That's why you see David will never say this champion. He will not even say champion. He will just say this Philistine. Meaning to him, Goliath is just an ordinary person. A person of no worth, no value, no strength. Verse 33. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. Can you see that? So Saul said, I know you love your country, Israel. I know you want to be a patriotic citizen. You want to defend the integrity of your country. But this man called Goliath has been fighting from his youth. So he has now become a man of war. Can you see that? So an example of somebody that can be called a man of war is the man called Goliath. A man of war is that person that has been fighting from his young age. And such is Goliath. He has been fighting from his youth and now he has become a man of war. Imagine somebody who has been fighting battles from age 18 and now is 50, still fighting. Such a person is a man of war. Why? He knows in everything about war. He knows how to fight, he knows how to escape, he knows how to strategize and everything. But the king now said, this one has been fighting from his youth. Now he has become a man of war. Well, you are just a youth. Look at you don't even have muscles. You are flat to the back. Even your bone, your hands are tiny. Is it with this your tiny hands? Is your tiny legs? Is it with this your tiny body that you want to fight this big man? And David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. I went after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And he arose against me. I caught him by the beard, and smote him, and slew him. You see, make sure you have something. Are you there? Education is not paying off. Education is have something, even if it is a little certain. Just have something. Go to school. I don't want. Just go. Even if it is primary school, just go. Even if it is primary school certificate, have something. Even if it is secondary school certificate, please have something. Even if it is OND, NCE degree, just have something. You may not study to master's, PhD, you may not even study to degree level, but please just have something. If it is secondary school or primary school, have a certificate. Because a time is coming that you will need to present something. Are you there? You see, favor sometimes will require that you have something. There are people who are using their primary school certificate to work in their current job, and they are getting more than the person who has masters is getting. The rule is you need to have something. In the day when the mercy of God will speak for you, they will request for something. So is that little thing? Just have. It may not even be big. Just have something little. Is that little thing is what the mercy of God will now sit on to make you great. But if you have nothing, don't even call for God's help. So David told the king, he said, well, there was a time I was, leading my father's sheep. A lion came. See, this thing that David was telling the king is a serious case. It's not like the lion came and he scared the lion away. No, the lion took the sheep away. Are you there? So David left the sheep and ran after the lion. Now look at step one. He ran after lion. That's scary. If you see a lion, the normal thing for David to do is to just quickly pack the remaining one and run home. But David left the 99 for the one that was missing. So the experience that Jesus was narrating to his disciples while he was teaching them about the shepherd that left the 99 for the lost was from the life of David. So Jesus was teaching the people from the life of David, only that he did not mention David physically. So David was the example of that man that did what Jesus was using to teach. You see, when Jesus came, Jesus was an addicted reader. He had read the Old Testament. He had read. So in most of his teaching, you will see Jesus talking about Moses because he had read about Moses. Are you there? So in his study also, he had read this story. So he was using the story of David to teach the people. So he said, how many of you here, you have 100 sheep, one is missing? Won't you run after the one that was missing? Are you there? The question is, that one sheep that was missing, that Jesus was talking about, what made it got missing? It was because of the lion that came to take the sheep. So a lion came and took it, and the lion went with the sheep. So the sheep was now missing because though the sheep did not want to go, but the sheep is now in the mouth of the lion. So the lion defines the direction of the sheep. That's why the shepherd will have to leave the 99 to follow after the lost sheep. Now, the shepherd that is going after the lost sheep is not just going on a search, he's also going to fight. Are you getting it? And it takes boldness to go after the lost sheep because you know you are going to meet with the lion. Are you getting what I'm saying? So the story Jesus was trying to paint in the New Testament was the life of David, was the experience of David. And David himself was sharing his testimony here. So this was the testimony Jesus saw that he was using to teach the parable of the lost sheep. Are you get what I'm saying? So David now said, I went after the sheep. That's step one. I fought with the lion. Now, David fought with the lion twice. The first fight was to deliver the sheep. When you are fighting to deliver something, you'll be very careful. It takes a lot of skill, energy, and carefulness, because you don't fight anyhow. You don't use your sword anyhow. Otherwise, in the process, you will be the one to even kill the sheep you are going to rescue. You can ask the people in the armed forces, when they are going on a rescue mission, they don't shoot anyhow. Are you there? Because they are so careful to locate where the person they want to save is. So they shoot with care. So when David is fight, the first fight was to save the sheep from the mouth of the lion. So after that was done, now David placed the sheep somewhere safe. Then the second fight was to destroy the lion. So David engaged in two fights and he won. First fight to deliver the sheep, the second one was to. Are you there? So there are about four steps here. The first part of it, the first part of it was when he went after the lion. It takes boldness to go after a lion, because you know how terrible lion is. Number two, he fought to deliver the sheep. Are you there? So now look at this. He went after the lion. That shows he went to primary school. That's primary school certificate. So he had gotten that certificate. Are you there? Now, he found the lion. Are you there? That is secondary school certificate. Are you getting what I'm saying? Now, when he found the lion, he fought with the lion to deliver the sheep. Are you there? That is the OND or NCE. After that, he now, he now destroyed the lion. Are you getting what I'm saying? By killing the lion. That's the degree certificate. Are you there? Now, after that, he carried the sheep on his shoulder. Are you there? That's another strength. That is like masters now. Are you there? Then after carrying the sheep on his shoulder, he led the sheep back to the fold. That's PhD level. So David presented his certificate to King Saul, showed him his primary school certificate, secondary school, OND, NCE, OND or NCE that he did. He showed the king his degree certificate, his master's certificate, and his what? And his PhD. Are you getting what I'm saying? That was the CV that David was presenting. Okay. Verse 36. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. Can you see that? And these uncircumcised Philistines shall be as one of them, seeing that he had defied the armies of the living God. And David said, moreover, the Lord hath delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear. He will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. Can you see? David always referred to Goliath as this Philistine. He's doing that deliberately. He's just talking down on him. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. So when Saul saw the credentials of brother David, he said, this man is really educated. All right, go, let's see what you can do. Then he prayed for, he said, the Lord will be with you. Verse 37. Now, I remember one time I was serving as a missionary. There was this particular meeting and I have to travel to Akure in the night. Everywhere was dark. I have to just take a vehicle and go to Akure in that night. So I was going, the zonal rep looked at me and said, the Lord go with you. I said, amen. And actually the Lord went with me, because the vehicle I took, by the time I got to Akure, to pay the man said, no, you don't pay. I don't even know him. He said, no, don't worry, don't pay. Just thank you. I knew that was a sign that the Lord was with me. Praise the Lord. So you need prayers from elders. Are you there? The king said, go and the Lord be with you. It's very important. The prayer may look simple, but it's powerful. 37. David said, Moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, Go, and the Lord be with thee. Verse 38. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail, similar things to what Goliath had. Either though not as heavy as what Goliath is putting on, but something similar because of his stature. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in his scrip, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistines. There's something I want us to really learn from here. Now look at what he did. When they put those things on him, he had not proved them, meaning he's not used to them. So he put them off. Some of us, we do things we are not used to because we want to please people. And at the end of the day, we end up fumbling. Now, when we fumble, we now begin to give silly excuses. Hey, it's because of this thing now. It's because of that. Why did you use it? Are you there? You are a minister. You are a worship minister. You came up to minister. Somebody is giving you a sound that is not aligning with your spirit. Instead of you to ask the person to stop and give you another one, you are managing it. And now you minister. You after your administration, you are now having guilty conscience. And I say, it's not my fault. Is it not the person? Can't you tell them to stop and give you the sound that will align with your spirit? So don't use what is against your alignment. Are you there? Don't try to manage anything. Otherwise, you damage a lot of things. They put the thing on David. He's not used to it. He's just like a gospel minister. He said, no, change the sound. This is not my sound. Change the sound. Are you there? When you want to minister, make sure you put everything in place to ensure that it is easy for God to speak through you. Are you there? If the people are talking, ask them to keep quiet. Are you there? Make sure you create that atmosphere that can make you a blessing. Otherwise, you just waste the time of the people and you will go home with guilt in your heart. Are you getting what I'm saying? So, David took his staff in his hand. His staff, that's one of the tool of a shepherd, the staff. And then he chose 12, he chose 5 smooth stones, not just anyhow stones, smooth stones. Are you there? Then he went with his scrip. You see, the stones that David used was actually picked on that place, on the spot. So everybody saw the stones, but nobody thought the stones could be a tool that God could use. Sometimes your solution is close to you, but the problem you have is that you are not seeing that thing as a solution. It was the same stones that was around that the soldiers were stepping on to run back from the champion. It was that same stone that David picked and he used against Goliath. So what do you see? What you see is very, very important. Verse 41. And the Philistines came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog, that thou comest to me with staffs? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Are you seeing that? So when Goliath saw David, he said, what's the meaning of all this nonsense? You want to come and fight me? You this small boy, look at what you are bringing. He did not even come with any big thing. He cursed David with his God. So he said, in the name of my God, you, David, you are cursed. That's what Goliath did. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowl of the air, and to the beast of the field. Then said David to the Philistine. Can you see that? Anytime the Bible wants to refer to, the description of Goliath is different now. Anytime the Bible wants to refer to Goliath now, you will hear the Philistine, meaning all the Philistines are in Goliath. That was why the man was heavy. Are you there? The entire Philistines are in Goliath. So if you add all the Philistines together, the king of the Philistines plus all the chiefs, plus all the officials, plus all the men, all the women, all the citizens, if you add everybody in the Philistines together, they will be equal to one Goliath. I get what I'm saying. So all the people in the land of the Philistines, if you sum them up, you will get Goliath. Are you get what I'm saying? All right. So verse 41. And the Philistines came on and drew near unto David. And the man that bare, okay, I've read that. Okay. Verse 45. Then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou defy. You see, David was not really coming to show. He was just angry. Now, this is a natural reaction you have as a child. You love your parents, and then just imagine you followed your mommy to buy something, and on your way coming, a man looked at your mother and insulted her, and you are just maybe a 7-year-old boy. A man looked at your mother, insulted her. He spoke so rudely to her, and was even willing to slap her face. Now, as a child that love your mother, what will you do? With your little strength, you will try to hold back the man, trying to use your 2 hands to beat. Are you there? That's what your strength can do. Though you cannot even conquer the man, you cannot defeat the man, but you will do what you can do, either biting him, pinching him. Are you there? Because of your love for your mother. Are you there? You are just trying to show the man that you are not happy. Are you there? You are trying to defend your mother even when your strength is little. That is the exact thing that David is doing here. David himself knew that ordinarily he cannot defeat Goliath. I get it. So David going to fight Goliath is not like he knows that he cannot defeat Goliath. But he cannot, he is just angry. How will you be talking to the living God? What's the meaning of this nonsense? No, I rather die. Are you there? That was the motivation of David. He said, I rather die. Those were his hidden statements. I would rather die. I prefer to die. Let me just die today. And let's end this thing once and for all. It's better I'm dead than to be alive and be looking at this crazy man talk crazily to the living God. Never. Today I will die. I'm ready to die today. Let's go to the next verse. Verse 46. This day will the Lord deliver thee unto my hand, and I will smite thee and take thy head from thee, and I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. So can I say that? So David is fighting because he wants to educate the Philistines. There's something the Philistines do not know. They don't know there's a God in Israel. So he said, okay, I'm fighting with you today because I want you to know that there is a God in Israel. So he's not fighting so that they can know that he can fight. So why you are fighting can define what you will see, what you will experience in the fight. And why you are engaging in that fight will determine if you will win the fight or not. Why you are fighting will determine if you will be a loser or not. Are you getting what I'm saying? Verse 47. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth, not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into my hands. Can you see that? So David is fighting because, one, he wants to educate the Philistines so that they can know that there's a God in Israel. Two, he also wants to educate the Israelites, those people who have been running away from Goliath for the past 40 days. He wants to educate them so that they can know that the Lord saveth. God can save. Not because of this spear and the sword, no, that God can save even with things that looks ordinary. So David was fighting for two things: to educate the Philistines and to educate the Israelites. There's a kind of knowledge David wanted the Israelites to have. So he had to fight to bring that knowledge to them. And there's a kind of knowledge he wanted the Philistines to have. And if you don't fight, they will not have the knowledge. So he's fighting for those reasons. All right. Verse 48. And it came to pass when the Philistines arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hastened and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. Can you see that? So when Goliath was coming, unfortunately, the Philistines were also approaching. I don't know the kind of boldness David had. You know, it could have been easy if they said, okay, only David and Goliath. The Philistines were at his back. They were behind Goliath, and yet David was not scared. I can't imagine that kind of boldness. He was not even thinking, what if the Philistines just, like 20 of them, just gather around me? Are you there? Now, this was what happened as Goliath was coming. The entire host of the Philistines were walking. They were at his back, but Goliath was at the front. As David was coming to, the entire host of Israel were also at his back. So the youngest boy became the captain of the host, including the king. David, when he came, he became the captain of the entire host of Israel, including the king. Because at that point, it was David that was leading. Even the king was behind David. Are you there? So David was leading the entire Israel to battle. Goliath too was leading the entire Philistine to battle. So David was at the front. Goliath was also at the front. Are you getting what I'm saying? Verse 49. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistines in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead and he fell upon his face to the earth. Just one stone. Just one stone. One stone. David just slang a stone. The stone met, Goliath on his forehead. Are you there? And the Bible said the stone sank into his head. Now look at this. When you are meeting with God, when you know you are serving the living God, always try to do your own best. Are you there? Put in your effort, then God will crown it. David, by his effort, slang the stone. So the stone, are you there? By David's effort, he slang the stone. By God's effort, the stone entered into the head of Goliath. Because all the part of Goliath was harmed except for his forehead. So that little space that was opened was where God. So when David slang the stone, God took the stone. If see, many of us want to defeat Goliath, but you are not throwing any stone. What will God hold? If you are not throwing any stone, then the devil will keep throwing stone at you. Throw a stone first and trust the Lord to help you with the stone. So when David threw the stone, God held it, and God began to move the stone at that exact that little space that was opened, at the forehead of Goliath. God held the stone and directed the stone to that place. Not only that, when the stone met his head, God did not stop. God pushed the stone inside such that it sank into his forehead. It was God that pushed the stone inside. The only thing David did was to just throw the stone. God held it and began to direct the stone. It has never happened before in the entire history of the Bible that a stone sank into a person's head. You can see. I don't believe that there's no record. I don't believe that you cannot set a new record. I'm not part of people that believe such a thing. I believe there is something the Lord can do through me that has never happened before. I believe. That's what I believe. And I trust God to make that happen. Are you there? You will see the Lord do certain things through me that has never happened before. Look at this that happened through David now. It has never happened before in the history of the Bible. This was the first and the last time we read about something like this, that a stone sank into a person's head. We have never, throughout the Bible, there was no place something like this happened, except in the case of David. Verse 15. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in his hand, in the hand of David. Can you see that? David went with just a stone and something to throw the stone. No sword, no gun, nothing, nothing. No shield. Can you see that? How will he even hold a shield? He can't be holding a shield with one hand and be trying to throw a stone. So he went neutral. It was so clear that God fought for Israel that day. It was so clear. Let it also be clear to your people that it is God that is doing what He's doing through you. Stop acting like the boss. Stop making things look complicated. You want to gain admission, you have sent letters, you have collected letter from the king, collected letter from, you are making this thing too complicated. By the time you get the admission now, you can't even thank God. Before you finish thanking people, you have already forgotten to even say thank you, Jesus. Be like David. Go with just a stone and what you used to throw it. That's all. Don't go with sword and this hammer, spear. What? No, just go. And let it be clear that God did it. Are you there? Tell your neighbor, let it be clear that God did it. And if you are not with anybody, tell yourself, I will make it clear that God did it. All right. Verse 51. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And when you see your guy is dead, what will you do? You run. So when they saw that Goliath died, everybody, the Philistines, they ran away. They ran. Why? Because the sum total of the Philistine is Goliath. Goliath is equal to everybody in the Philistines. If you had everybody in the land of the Philistines together, they will be equal to Goliath. So if Goliath dies, what next? Everybody will run away. That's why you see all of them ran. And the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until thou come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Shariam, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned chasing after Philistines, and they spoiled their tent. Can you see that? So because of that victory, it was now easy for the children of Israel to now fight the Philistines. They were both, because it's not like they can't fight the Philistines before. It was the problem they had was their champion. Now their champion has fallen. The boldness came. They began to run after the Philistines. Are you there? You see, you need somebody that can pave way for you. Are you there? So most of the time, what we call problem is not really a problem. The reason it's a problem is because there's nobody to pave way. That's it. Are you getting what I'm saying? Verse 54. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his hammer in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. Are you there? David was so low that the king does not even know the name of his father. His father was just an ordinary person in the land. Are you there? Can you see that? God can do something through you that will bring not only you, your entire family to limelight. I pray such thing is happening to you today in the name of Jesus. And the king said, Inquire thou whose son this stripling is. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said unto him, Whose son art thou, young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. Can you say that? May the Lord do something wonderful through you in the name of Jesus. God bless you.